Assalamu alaikum. How you doing? How's everything going? Where are you in the world and how are you in the world? May Allah Ta'ala bless you and your family. So here we are, day, is it 6 or 7? I'm at that stage where I've lost a day somewhere. And it hasn't been through sleep, I can tell you that. I've been just napping for 45 minutes during the day, which compared to other Ramadans is quite light. Have you found that as well? Maybe it's because we're in lockdown. Maybe we're so used to this environment that we're not using much energy, right? Subhanallah. So let's make a commitment tomorrow, inshallah, to getting out and doing a walk. Well, you're here for Ramadan Reset. This is our 30-day series. And I'm doing this for Watan charity, alhamdulillah, shukrullah, to help those who are, I don't like to say less fortunate than ourselves, let's say who are blessed with different tests to ours, and are being raised in ranks by Allah Ta'ala for their patience, inshallah. And that's the Syrian people. We're here to raise money and to help them to get through the next period, inshallah Ta'ala. But this show is all about speaking to our guests and finding out what their Ramadan is like. So far around the world, I've been to, let's see, Chicago and Blackburn and London. And today we are going to, is it Dallas? I'm going to have to ask my guest where she is today, actually, because I can't remember which city she's in. I'm glad to say that it's Nicole Queen. And if you haven't checked out her podcast yet, her podcast is called Salam Girl. And I love doing the accent. Salam Girl.
I wish I was recording you right now saying that, because that is classic. That's the best Salam Girl I've heard. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm coming to you from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. I knew that. I knew you were in Dallas. Of course.
Yeah.
So, how's it going, Nicole? I'm going to give you a bit more of an intro. So Nicole has the Salam Girl podcast. She's a convert to Islam as well. And we used to mix with the rich and fatuous, not the rich and famous, the rich and fatuous.
Yes.
Down in the club scene, because she was a photographer and still is a great photographer, mashallah, tabarakallah. But now turns her skills to positive messaging for Muslims about our way of life, about our decision making, and uses her camera for positivity. Welcome, Nicole Queen from Dallas, Texas.
Thank you so much for that gracious welcome. I really appreciate that. Salam alaikum to everybody, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. And I have been, when I was a baby Muslim, I was a huge fan of Lauren Booth. Alhamdulillah, like, her story was very inspiring to me. So I'm really excited to do this live with you, Lauren. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, that's so nice. We actually met about 7 months ago. It can't be, about 5 months ago.
Yeah.
In UAE, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It was really, yeah, go ahead.
You know, Lauren, the first time we met was at least 8 or 9 years ago. You spoke at an event here in Dallas, and it was the first time that I had seen you like live in person. And I totally came up and took a selfie with you. I wish I had it to show you guys, because like, back in the day, we both had very different hijab styles back then. But I have that selfie of us together, and I was totally fangirling you for sure.
Cute.
We met many years ago, but we actually got to speak with each other and bond a little bit. And I was so honored to have Lauren as a guest on the Salam Girl podcast. So that was really exciting too.
And that was a very bizarre night. We'll get onto our topic today, by the way, which is I've lost the word, Nicole. Deliberate fasting, isn't it?
Deliberate and intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Intention is trending right now. There's like hashtag intentional on everything, and so I'm kind of big on intention over habitual. So I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always likes us as Muslims to be habitual, like He wants consistency. And He wants us to maintain consistent prayers, maintain consistent du'as, maintain consistency in moderation in how we eat and how we spend our time socially and all of that stuff. So I know habitual sometimes can be seen as a positive thing, But one thing that I learned as a convert to Islam, mixing with born Muslims and people, who grew up in the Muslim tradition, I saw that, especially during Ramadan, that a lot of people were a little less intentional in how they spent their Ramadan, and a little more habitual, a little more cultural. And so one thing that I've done in my own family, and then when I help other converts who come to me for stuff, is just to talk to them about maintaining more intention behind each thing that we do during Ramadan. I'll give you an example. So sometimes during Ramadan, we're fasting. Some people that are, more used to fasting than others can tend to spend their time during the day lethargically. So lots of sleeping, and it's almost as if they really want the time to pass very quickly. They don't really want to enjoy the feeling of fasting and that bond that you get with your body. I feel like fasting is one of the most ultimate mind-body connections that you can achieve. And so a lot of people miss out on the beauty of that connection and that gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us without us even realizing it by asking us to fast. A lot of people miss out on that by staying up most of the night, maybe watching their favorite Turkish soap operas and eating lots of food and having almost like their own little parties. And then they'll sleep the entire day because they really want to skip the fast in that sense.
That's really interesting about skipping the fast and sleeping less. I haven't heard anything about the parties in the evenings, but I think, Nicole, definitely we can reflect on our normal lives that when we love something, we will stay up for it. That this idea of the binge watching, somehow your eyes will stay open if you're really gripped by a story. And isn't Ramadan our own story between us and Allah Ta'ala?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alhamdulillah. So fasting is just one way that we should enjoy our fast, and we should try to not sleep all day and try to kind of make that mind-body connection. Also, what I try to do during Ramadan is, we have our 5 daily prayers. One thing my kids will ask me, aren't you done praying, Mommy? Aren't you going to get up from the prayer mat and let's continue with our day? And I will sit after everyone is finished and have a meditation time. And this is something that you can do with each of your 5 prayers after you've made your du'as, anything that you would typically do when you complete your sunnah prayers. You can sit and have meditation, and this is something that is just so spiritual with that mind-body connection, and it almost gives you that extra peace that you need before you walk out and just face the rest of the day, because fasting, I know, can really be difficult. Right now, we're all fasting together at home. So like dads are home working from their computers, doing their board meetings at home. You have your kids, you're trying to homeschool them. Like here, we have a very rigorous homeschooling program that we're having to do because we can't go to school. And then you're trying to maintain that peace in your household, and you almost break your fast if you are screaming at the kids, if you're mad at your husband, all of that stuff can happen. And if we're more intentional about taking that extra time to have a little meditation, to sit down and just be at peace, be calm, be quiet, empty your mind of all thoughts, and allow yourself to just listen. Which transitions into the next thing that I think is super important in Ramadan, especially in this time because we are all just in close quarters together in our homes. I think practicing the art of being more quiet and listening with each other. I think this is so important, and it's something that is super hard for me to obtain is to be quiet and just listen. But this is something that has brought me a lot more peace. I'm a lot less likely to get into an argument with someone in my home, or to have, to feel angry at people if I am just quiet. And I purposely will just not respond to things and maintain this certain level of inner peace that we can have. And that's one of the things I think that is beautiful about being a Muslim, is that we can just be quiet and just listen and just take in what's going on around us. And this can help us to have a more intentional day, because you will realize things that you never noticed before, maybe about your children, maybe about your husband, if you're just kind of a fly on the wall instead of being so engaged in what everyone's doing, and if they're doing it right. So sometimes I try to step back a little bit and just observe and not respond.
Mashallah. Do you find that fasting actually, because fasting can make people tetchy, there's this thing about being hangry, but I think,
Yes.
Broadly speaking, that's hungry and angry at the same time. So there is a kind of risque hour, probably for me, it's around this time, just when it's like your body's pushed to the limits. But I think what's incredible, subhanallah, is that Muslims, we pass through that within 3 or 4 days, and we recognize the beauteous miracle of this machinery, of this technical miracle that Allah's given us of the body, that it's repairing itself, and its ability to calm us even when we're hungry, and that how much of our emotions are due to wants rather than needs.
Mashallah, that's exactly, I think, how I feel about it. It's exactly how it is. And I think just fasting is just, it's the ultimate, like I said, the ultimate mind and body connection. And when you feel every little part of what you're thinking and what you're observing and everything, when you feel every little inch of that, it's just a miraculous feeling that you can have. And there's just things that you would have never noticed before that you can find during Ramadan. There's so many beauties that you never even noticed before that you will find during Ramadan. And the hangriness is definitely one of our jihads, I think, that we face during Ramadan. But you're right. I mean, the first couple of days, didn't you all have the caffeine headache? Like, definitely I was feeling that. And I just said, okay, one thing that I try to do is listen to my body. And I'm sure everybody here knows how to do that. You've been in your body since you were born.
Actually, Nicole, I'm going to jump in there. Yes. I'm sure that many people won't have listened to their body, because we might not have come across even that thought process. So when you say think into your body, what do you mean?
So what I mean is, like, instead of just thinking, oh, here's that headache I get every Ramadan, and I know it's because I can't have caffeine. And we may tell ourselves that because of Ramadan and because we have to fast, we can't have something that we want, and now we have a headache. And intentional thinking is to look at that same situation and say, this caffeine, which is a drug, by the way, this caffeine causes pain in my body. My body is addicted to it. When I take it out of my body starts hurting because of that addiction. I probably might be better off not putting it back in, because of the fact that I see that once I remove it, I start having withdrawal pains. The same way that people would have withdrawal pains when they stop taking a drug, because caffeine is a drug. And so intentional thinking in that aspect would be to listen to my body and say, my body's talking to me and saying, I'm glad this is gone and it hurts to let it go, but now do you have a headache still? Like, we're a good 4 or 5 days into Ramadan. Do you still have caffeine headaches? I don't.
No, mine went, yeah. Alhamdulillah.
When it went away, it should go away after the first 2 days or so. And that is just you're sloughing off things, unnecessary things. And so we can listen to our body talk to us and say, that was something I didn't need. it's gone now. Now I have relief. I don't have the same headache anymore, and I can keep going. And we are able to wake up in the morning with suhoor, right? Very early, much earlier than you typically would wake up. So you're able to do that without coffee, without having your coffee. And some people have it still, I think, in suhoor. But you're able to do that and get by. And there's so many things that you're able to get by without that you may not have realized until Ramadan. And I think listen to how your body talks to you and says, look at how much food I don't really need. Look how much water I don't really need. When we obsessively always have a drink in the car, we have all these fancy bottles to hold all of our drinks in, and we're mixing things in our drinks, and we're always eating a snack everywhere we go. My kids say, did you bring snacks? And during Ramadan, it's like you realize, oh, wow, look at this over intake that we always have. So much overdone. And intentionality is just kind of looking around and realizing that I didn't really have to have that, and I'm just fine without it.
SubhanAllah. And I'm going to go to comments actually, because we've got some lovely comments coming in. Asha Maravillosa, great name. I wonder where you are in the world. Miss Nicole Queen, can you share the first time fasting when you reverted to Islam, and how you felt when you were fasting for the first time?
So I can share that the very first time that I fasted, I said fasted, listening with your accent, we say fasted. The very first time was before I had actually taken my shahada, because I had this little group of Muslim friends that I was trying to transition into. I knew when I came to Islam that I was going to have to replace what I had before with something new, or else this would probably fail. So I took the places I hung out and replaced them with more halal options. And I took the people I spent time with and replaced them with people that would push me towards a more positive lifestyle. And so I had already replaced the people I had spent my time with primarily Muslim people. And they were observing Ramadan, and this is when I was still studying and hadn't actually converted yet, because I felt like I needed to be a professor of what I was doing before I took my shahada. And now I would go back and slap myself and say, you should have just converted like right away, because you never know how many days you have in your life. And I fasted with them before I had actually become a Muslim, and I think it was one of the best Ramadans of my life, because it was so exciting to me. And I even had like a matching little prayer outfit with one of the other girls, and we would go, I would go with her sometimes to the mosque, and I didn't know how to pray or anything, but I was very familiar with going to the mosque because I was going to classes and stuff there. And I would go with her and just sit down and listen to the Quran and, observe everything. And we would go and have coffee late at night, not listening to my body there, but we would go and have coffee. We'd go get slushes at 7-Eleven. We would hop around to different mosques and stuff. And there was just such a feeling of excitement about Ramadan. And I got invited to different people's homes. And I would even just have iftar by myself in my apartment, and I was totally fine with that. I wasn't a person who felt lonely in that sense. I just kind of enjoyed alone time, and I enjoyed time with my friends. But the whole first period of coming over to Islam, where I was just a single girl that was on this journey, was the best time in my life. Like, I was so excited about every aspect of it.
I love that excitement of the first Ramadans, actually. And it is very much you see in the children when they're just coming to that age where I've got a friend's daughter and she's 5 years old. She's like, she's eating her cereal in the morning going, look, mummy, I'm fasting. I'm fasting. Because my mum says, you can fast. And when you're little, you can fast while you eat, because she's trying to explain that, of course, the fast is in how you feel and your connection with Allah. And so she's going, look, mummy, I'm fasting. But that excitement of being like a child to Islam, I think is something really, really special. I love what you say about intention. Tell us a bit more about the intention hashtag. Trending. Where does that come from? What does it mean? What do you think?
So the whole world sort of came on board with intentional living. A lot of people do journaling, and this is something that is great to do. Maybe after you've had sahur, you can do a little journaling every morning, or you could do it before, or you could do it after you pray Fajr. Sometimes that's the best time because you have a lot of time after that. And journaling is one of the biggest parts of the trend of intentional living. And there are so many different Muslim journals that you can buy, but it's about setting your expectation for yourself that day. And that's part of an intentional Ramadan, is that you can say, today I'm going to read this many Jews. And maybe I'm going to sit down and explain a few of those to my children, or share some stories in a children's Quran with them. Because we don't want to forget that we're raising the next generation of Muslims. And so we want to make sure that, like you see behind me, I'm big on the decor and the sparkle of Ramadan so that my children feel excitement. But I also believe that just as much time needs to be spent showing them why we're fasting. And they'll ask me, why do we fast? Even if we talk about it a million times, they'll say, Mom, why does Allah not want us to eat? And that's my favorite question. And so I love to sit down and explain to them the idea of taqwa, and the idea of even proving to yourself that you really do believe in Allah. You really believe that He is watching you, and that you are giving something to Him during this month. And that idea to them was almost magical. When I told them, I know no one's around, and you could sneak and have a piece of candy and no one would see you, but Allah would see you. And they're just, He sees us. Oh my gosh. And so this idea, it's fun to deliver a little bit of that into them. But I think starting your day with a little bit of journaling is something that's really special, that can set expectations for yourself of what you want to do that day, what you hope to accomplish that day. And you can even write reminders for yourself, like maybe yesterday you realized that you lost your temper over this or that, or you didn't accomplish this or that. And so the next day you can set up the expectation, like, today I'm going to avoid harping on my husband about this, or I'm going to avoid conversations about that because that's a sensitive subject, or just listen to what happens throughout the day, and the next day set yourself up for more success by avoiding the things that you wish you would have avoided the day before. So intentional living can be about that as well. One thing you want to remember is, don't set goals that for yourself that could lead you to feeling like a failure. So don't set a really high goal that you don't reach and then you feel like you have failed that day. Just set expectations. Just say, I hope that this is what I can do today, and this is what I would like to do. But don't look back at your list and say, I didn't complete everything, and so now my whole day is a failure. That's not what it's about.
That's kind of what happened to me today. So thank you for that. I was rushing from Zoom to Zoom. We give a lot of our time, by the grace of Allah, to try and you people like yourself, people who have skills, and we're all skill sharing now. And then if you haven't done your tajweed, or you haven't done your Quranic reading, there is that thing of so many people talking about goals now. I get a little bit concerned that Ramadan is becoming another list. But you've just taught me, by the grace of Allah, that it is really another word for goal is an intention, and another way is a reflection. So we're reflecting on, what did we do yesterday, not in a failure way, but in, I could do that better today, or I might not have added joy to somebody's moment when I did that. How can I change that tomorrow? So changing up is another term, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Changing things up. And just, and that's all about paying attention to what you could have done better, and realizing that could have been done in a different way, and just trying to take note of that, and just being a little more aware of yourself. And I think that's one of the best ways that we can improve anything, whether it's Ramadan, whether it's a career goal that you have. or whether you want to change yourself health-wise, if you want to get healthier, if you want to have some type of goal, a side hustle, anything. If you just make yourself more aware of the things that you may have been able to improve on, and then lay it out, make a list. How can I improve this? But make it a list of steps instead of, I want to lose 50 pounds. No, instead of saying that, we want to go back and say, I want to try to have a taste of dessert instead of a huge slice. And you make these little steps that help you get to the goal that you want to have. Because if we just write down 50 pounds and we only lose 5, then you feel like a failure.
Well, in fact, you've lost 5. We're all here, brothers and sisters, and we've got some wonderful people watching us. We've got a couple of questions coming in, but I want to remind everyone that my guests, including the magnificent Nicole Queen, may Allah bless her, are all giving their time towards donating food baskets, water and hygiene kits, to encouraging all of you to take part with us, inshallah, in supporting our brothers and sisters in Syria. So that's just a reminder that Harris Khan is on the comments here. And I've got a Just Giving page. So you can donate a small amount to Just Giving, or there's another link that will be coming through, and you can go straight to Watan, and they're live and working in Idlib, in areas such as the north of Syria, on the border, the border with northern Turkey, camps and places where Syrians are gathered, needing our help right now. So the water, hygiene and food, but we'll go into that in a minute. I want to get a couple more questions in because Ronnie Rahman has asked, Nicole, what's your advice today for some youth in our ummah who don't want to believe in the hereafter or God and want to just be engaged so much in worldly affairs?
Well, I can say that I was that person for the majority of my life. And so I know exactly how it feels to live completely only for yourself and only for this world. And I know what it looks like to step through the door into a more intentional life where you live for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is a vastly different world. And so for young people, I like to just remind them of how miserable life can be when you have everything materialistically that you could possibly have, and you realize that you're still not happy. How miserable it can be to put all expectations and all emotional needs into things. Things do not care about you, and things have nothing more than just what they can do for you and what they were built to do. And they cannot carry your emotional value at all. And so if you live only for the world, that's like expecting your iPhone to love you back. It's not going to. It could draw you a picture of a heart, but it can't make you feel anything. And so when all that we care about is what the world thinks and what people who live that way think, they are also putting all of their needs on things, on money, on desires, on addictions like alcohol and drugs. And the reason that they take those things and that they drink and that they do that stuff is because they're trying to fill a void. You will live your life with a void if you want to live completely for the world. If you want to live with a purpose, with a driven life, where you have a far greater expectations for yourself and much higher results come to you because you are raising the bar constantly, that is a life where you live for Allah. When you don't live for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have a massive black void here instead of a heart. And your iPhone and money and power and sustenance, these kind of things cannot fill that void. Easy examples of that is just watch the news for the people committing suicide, the people cutting their wrists who are multimillionaires, famous people, singers, actors, all of these people. When we look at them and we see the surgeries and the money and we see how beautiful they are, like we just think, oh, there's no way I could be as beautiful as this person. She has the best clothes. She has the most friends. She has garage full of cars, or he, famous rappers, and they end up taking their own lives. SubhanAllah, they take their own life, even though you imagine that there's nothing more in this world that they could have needed. And everyone says that too. They say, how could they have taken their own life? They had everything. That's the key. They had everything that the world has to offer, and that's not enough. And if you don't realize that by seeing someone, the ultimate thing you can do to say this is not enough is to take your own life. And this is what is happening. So you have to know that the only thing that you can live for is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only thing that's going to fill that void is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there are so many people out in the world who live for Allah that have nothing, and they are so happy. I see people like that. I know people like that. And everything that comes out of their mouth fills you with joy. And you wonder, how can this person have nothing bad to say ever? They never complain. They never talk bad about someone. They have very little, but when you go to their home, you feel like you couldn't walk out eating another bite because they're so hospitable to you. They're just pushing all of what they have onto you. Those are the most amazing people that you should look up to. And those are people who live their life completely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Allah Ta'ala reminds us that He did not create all of this in jest, but at the same time that it's just a facade when we're going to the next life. I compare it to if you've got a wire like this, if you've got your headphones on, okay, we're worried about this section here. Yeah, we're worried about the materialism. Let's make all of this work. I've got to put all my energy into here. It's got to be brilliant every single second. And then we're forgetting and ignoring all of this, which is the reality.
Yeah.
So let's focus on this millimeter,
yes,
when the reality is what happens afterwards. What are we doing to pay it forward? What are we doing to respect Allah for everything that He's given to us? And that's why Ramadan is such a gift to the believers. It's literally a gift to us. And people from outside, can really sort of understand. They say, oh my God, you're fasting and water. There's a t-shirt, isn't there? Yes, water too. Yes, I fast with water too. Let's talk a little bit about charity in the holy months, because I want to really encourage people here by letting them know exactly why we're gathered tonight. And then we'll take a couple more questions at the end from Nicole, inshallah. So I spoke a little bit about food baskets. Now, Nicole, I don't know, you might have felt this as well, because I don't know what the situation is in Dallas, Texas at the moment about food, but I almost ran out of tea bags. Okay. And that for me felt like falling into,
the apocalypse.
The apocalypse. It was tea apocalypse. It was topocalypse. It was, yeah.
Hashtag apocalypse.
Yeah. Right. So you have these things that you think, I can't live without it, and you haven't had to live without it. And then, we come into Ramadan and we reflect on people who we want them not to have the worry of really doing without. I mean, I think of the mothers in the tents, and I've visited refugee camps before, and they really don't know. Their kids are hungry right now. They're just asking Allah, please Allah, don't let my children starve. Let them have a meal today. And so when we give charity, anytime, but when we give charity in Ramadan, we must carry this beautiful awareness that we're literally answering people's du'as. So these food items are rice, 8 kilos, bulgur wheat flour, pasta and chickpeas, right? So we could all make something with those.
Delicious.
Right, yeah, beans and green peas, because this is an Arab diet, olive oil, some sugar, some dates and some salt. You've got a really great starter kit for a month to 5 weeks there. And Nicole, what really moves me about these particular kits, actually, yes, you need food and water, it's the hygiene kits. Now, I've been with other organizations on the streets of London and Manchester, and I've had homeless women come up to me and say, have you got a razor? Or, have you got, some sanitary products? Now, I'm about to go into breaking my fast here because I'm in Turkey. So I'm going to hand over to you, Nicole, for the beauty of charity in Ramadan for 2 or 3 minutes, if that's okay. And a
Yeah,
shout out to
absolutely.
people to encourage them to give to this wonderful cause. Look in the sideline guides in the comments underneath. Jazakallah. And I'll for you all.
So, Lincoln, guys, so as Lauren was talking about, these are wonderful, wonderful food baskets. And a lot of times charities will give away food packets, and you think that doesn't sound like much, or maybe that's going to get them through a few days. But this is a food basket. And as she talked, there's bulgur, there's rice, there's oil, there's water, there's peas, vegetables, all of these things. So we are providing people with a good iftar for a month. For the rest of Ramadan, you're going to feed a whole family a good iftar every day, just the way that they deserve. I mean, how can we ever expect our brothers and sisters to fast the way that we all fast all day? Some countries fast 16 hours, some countries more. I noticed in Norway, I think it was like 20 hours. There's just crazy amounts of time that we are fasting. And to imagine that a family could fast all day and then not have a proper iftar, they may have nothing. They may not have water to break their fast. And it really weakens my stance for sure to imagine that. And I think it's so important that we give people the dignity to fast just as well as we do, to break their fast with a good hearty meal that's going to take care of them. I think it is so important that that is priority, because one of the things that I want to make sure that everyone noticed during this time of COVID-19 here in Dallas, and I noticed that when I watched the news, I would see it happening all over the world, and they would talk about all of the different restaurants who are feeding people, restaurants who are donating food, people who are having a food pantry in their neighborhood. For anyone in the neighborhood to drive up and get a meal. I know that the masjid that we go to here locally was giving free meals to people. And they're not asking if you're poor or if you're needy and how much money do you make or anything. It's just if you need a meal, drive up and come and get it. And what that said to me was that during a time like this, that food and feeding people is the first thing that the whole world thought of. How are we going to make sure people have food? That's the first thing people feared, and they ran to stores buying everything off the shelves, besides fearing not having toilet paper. That was the main thing that people were afraid of, was not having that. People were stockpiling dry goods. I couldn't find beans forever. I couldn't find rice in stores. That's what they're stockpiling. And these baskets, that's what it contains, is that dry goods and that food that's going to last and food that's going to fill empty tummies. And I can't even think about my own kids who are fasting only half a day. And how hungry they are when I feed them at the end of their fast. My children are very small. And when it's time for them to break their fast, they act like it's been 20 hours. They are so hungry. And I imagine the people out there who don't have that food to break their fast, even to give to their children. SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah, we are so blessed. This is a month of blessing, light upon light. Ya Allah, we thank you and we praise you. And we honor you in this holy month with our intentions, and everything we do that is a decent and good behavior becomes an ibadah this month. So all that work that you're doing, just make the intention that it is ibadah. And just a final thought, Nicole, before we let you go, inshallah. The challenge of Ramadan is like a triathlon for the body for many of us. How do we keep going to the end, living intentionally, and not feeling like we're failing, but improving every day for Allah's sake, inshallah? Do you have any tips about that or thoughts?
Inshallah. I think that the best thing that we can do is to find, always focus on the why instead of just the how of what we do in our faith. And that's something that's very easy to get lost in for Muslims. A lot of times we get lost in the checklist. I'm supposed to pray at this time, and I'm supposed to fast like this, and I'm supposed to dress like this. And then we kind of get lost in that list, but we don't really dive into the why as much. And one of the beauties of being a convert is that we learn about Islam, and we learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we learn about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from studying, from getting an in-depth, discovery of what this is, and teaching ourselves and learning from scholars and learning from imams and asking all the hard questions because we think maybe we're going to prove somebody wrong, getting in depth. And so we have a different outlook almost on why I'm fasting, why am I praying, why am I offering extra prayers at night for Taraweeh, and what is the meaning behind this, and how am I going to go through my day maintaining a sense of peace and calamity in myself. We dive into the depth of that, and I think that if everyone dives a little deeper into the why of what we do as Muslims, then it makes it a little easier for us to continue to grow and to keep going. Lauren, how long have you been a Muslim, Lauren?
This is my 10th Ramadan, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, your 10th Ramadan. I've been a Muslim for 13 years, alhamdulillah, and it is just still doesn't feel normal, it still doesn't feel like it's just a part of my day. It's still something I feel like I'm constantly learning and trying to be better at, and that is all part of making it an intentional part of your life instead of just habitual. Because we can start doing something and we're like, this is fun and exciting as a new Muslim, and then you get, you start going down the ladder and you feel like bored almost with it, or you lose that drive, you lose that high that you had. And so one of the things that you have to do as a new Muslim, and that we also have to do during Ramadan, is that we have to dive into the why, and we have to get deep into the depth of our religion instead of just sitting on the surface and just going through the motions. And that's what helps keep you going. Surround yourself with the right people, even in Ramadan, even in all the time. Surround yourself with the right people. I remember before I became Muslim, I used to photograph people in nightclubs. Astaghfirullah. So I spent all of my days in nightclubs, and I remember that during Ramadan, all of the Muslims would stop coming to the nightclub. And after Ramadan, they would be right back. So I ask all of you out there who are almost there, you're almost making all of your prayers, you're almost spending all of your time with the right people, you're almost not drinking, you're almost stopped using the drugs. I ask all of you, like, this is the Ramadan, inshallah, that you give to those that are in need through this charity, that you make a difference in someone's life, and that you realize that your life is a blessing, and that you have more than anybody. You have so much more than anybody. And you have to realize that, appreciate that, and let go of the things in your life that are holding you back. And never go back to the club after Ramadan. Don't go back to the drinking. Don't go back to the philandering. Don't go back to any of the sins that you wish you could let go of. This is your year. It's a very special year. And a lot of you are thinking, is this happening because of me? Is this happening because I need to change my life? And it is. This is your year to let go of all of the things that you're doing wrong and live your life completely the clean way that you've always wanted to live.
Allahu Akbar. Thank you so much on that amazing note. We will thank you and wish you an amazing fast and the rest of the month, Nicole. And if I can get you back on towards the end of the month, we'd be exceptionally grateful. But really, your commitment to guiding and inspiring is fabulous. So may Allah Ta'ala bless you and your family, keep you safe, and may all of your fasts and du'as be accepted. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Nicole. And if you want to find Nicole, everybody, you can go to Salam Girl Podcast, and you can find her on all the usual social media channels. SubhanAllah, I feel really, really inspired today. The thought about self-reflection, living an intentional life, knowing why we do things as well as the how of doing things. Why we give charity in this blessed month is to cleanse ourselves, to make ourselves pure before Allah Ta'ala. and purify our wealth, alhamdulillah. So with whatever you've got, you can help Syrian refugees. Please do that, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. You can go to my Just Giving page and give a little amount. You can go to the Watan UK link in the comments, and there are the food baskets as well, and all the money from the charity that I'm giving is going to the food baskets and the hygiene kits as well, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So tomorrow we've got a huge treat, same time, same place. Tez Ilyas, the internationally renowned comedian and star of Man Like Mobeen. Right, if you don't know what that is, then you have to look it up. He's an activist. He's a really clever guy, very interesting. He's going to be talking about gratitude tomorrow. Please remember me and my family in your du'as. Please pray for the ummah. Oh Allah, please accept our du'as. Please cleanse our wealth. Please give us good health. Please protect our families. Please release us from this plague, and please bless the Muslims around the world. Till tomorrow, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.